friends, recently I've received so much feedback about how Clutter Free Academy is changing your life. And can I tell you, if I can, with this little podcast, even facilitate 1% of change in your life to make things more peaceful, more fun, more interesting, more joyful, then this podcast has done its job. And I would love for, if you have had any positive reinforcement from this, I would love for you to consider being a teammate with us. We put this podcast on every single week. We are currently not accepting ads. And so we are all self-sustained, but we are not any longer just self-sustained because we have partners like you. So if you would be willing to jump on over to Kathi, that's KATHI.link/coffee, you can find out how to, somebody just yesterday said, it's easier for me to just give you $60 a year one at a time. Yes, thank you. We're so grateful. Or $5 a month makes more sense to you. Anyway, it helps us be able to plan better, to be able to produce better, and it helps us help our teammates be able to, we want to pay them a living wage because we love them. So thank you for being a part of this podcast. Okay, on with the show. Well, hey friends, welcome to Clutter Free Academy, where our goal is to help you take small, doable steps to live every day with less clutter and more life. And friends, it has been a minute, but I've got one of your favorite human beings back here on the podcast. She's been super busy doing her own thing. And so to get her on the books was like a 2 to 3 month process. You know, that's what happens when you go after the popular kids. Guys, welcome back to the podcast, Tonya Kubo. Tonya, welcome back. Yay!
I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, you have been off doing your own thing. You're doing a lot around communities, online communities. You have your own podcast, which wait, okay, I'm confused. Do you have one podcast or two?
Well, I have my own podcast, and then I
Right.
co-host a podcast with somebody else.
Okay,
so that's a
what's the
business podcast.
Right. And
it's
what's
called
that
The
called?
Business You Really Want.
Okay. And then there's Find Your Freaks.
Yep.
Which is about community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Find Your
Okay.
Freaks is my baby because that is all about finding your people around whatever you think makes you weird.
Yes. And we love some weird, don't we? We just love some weird.
And by the way, my interview with you, still the top downloaded episode. Just throwing that out there. And that was from launch week.
You and I have a good vibe. That's what I'll say. You and I have a good vibe. So the vibes came through. I'm sure you have good vibes with a lot of your people, but we've got nobody. I have not podcasted this much with another human being. So there we go.
It's hard not to love us together.
But, yeah, we are adorable.
We're amazing.
Are adorable. Well, guys, I had to get Tonya back because you may know what time it is. If you're new around here, you may not know what time it is, but it is Low by July. And so last week we introduced what Low by July is. Grace always comes in with the hot takes and the good information. She's been around a really long time too. But I wanted Tonya specifically for this episode because she and I both enjoy a hot minute in the kitchen. Okay, I'll say I enjoy a cool minute in the kitchen. I don't want to be hot. But
yeah, that's fair.
This has been my area of biggest growth when it comes to clutter and it comes to our finances. Is I had a long, long way to go. I think Low by July is it's a good challenge and it's a rewarding challenge. And so, Tonya, from your memory, actually you were around for the last Low by July, so
yeah.
But talk to us about your experience with Low by July, and then let's go into the kitchen.
Yeah, so I mean, my experience with Low by July is it is a great opportunity, one, to be reminded of what you have, right? To
Mhm.
focus on like, what do I already have that I could use rather than running out to get something else? And how to make the most of what you have. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really, when we're talking about the kitchen specifically, it's like, okay, well, I have this recipe that calls for, like, for instance, I have a bread recipe, calls for a cup of rye flour and like 3
Mhm.
cups of regular flour. And it's
Yeah.
like, I wonder what would happen if I just used 4 cups of regular
Mhm.
flour. Guess what?
Right?
It still makes bread. It's still yummy. To this day, I've never actually made that recipe with rye flour because
There
I
you
haven't needed it. And why would I go out and buy one particular type of flour for just one recipe?
go. Okay. Your unintentional, little, what am I trying to say? Uh, Needing it
Mhm.
without needing it. KNEADING or NE.
Yeah.
Sorry. Why can't I think of the word for what
It's
that
a
is?
pun. It's
It's
a
a pun. Thank you.
pun.
Why is the word pun the thing that tripped me up there when I was clever enough to see needing it? Um, I just had to point it out. So
Yeah.
yes, those are a couple of things. It's not about deprivation.
No.
It's about discovery, right? It's about,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
what do I
Kathy,
already
anybody
have?
right, anybody who's listened to listened to this show long enough knows you and me are not about deprivation.
No, no. We love our stuff.
Uh-uh.
We love our food. We love all of it. Using what you already have before buying something is not deprivation. It's just wisdom.
Mhm.
So, this is week 1 of Low by July, and we're starting in the kitchen because that's where the wins come fast.
Mhm.
Almost every one of us has forgotten food in the freezer, mystery cans in the pantry. What was that recipe I was really excited about that I bought lychees for? That could be a lot of things. Lychees are amazing. And what's that condiment we bought for a recipe in 2022 but have been emotionally avoiding ever since?
Yeah.
So it's not about shame. It's not about punishment. You don't have to use something,
Mhm.
but this is going to give us some great places to start. So, guys, everybody has food that they've forgotten. And if you guys, I'm going to put a link to a TikToker, Nicole. I think I can't remember her last name. We'll just call her Nicole. And she feeds her family of 4 on $300 a month. Now, that is a feat of wonder. It really is.
Mhm.
However, so I'm not striving for that, but I will say since I've started watching her, I've been so much more purposeful about the order of food I use, about uh, when I use things. Do we really need an entire chicken breast for the 2 of us, or could that spread? You know, those
Mhm.
kind of things. But I'll put a link to her channel because I think she's also on Instagram if you're not a TikToker. But the kitchen gives us quick wins. Using what you have saves money immediately.
Mhm.
And usually the problem is we have so much food, we don't know what we have. Like, I have so much food, I don't know what I have, we'll have to eat out.
Mhm.
And so this clears physical space. It's going to reduce some decision fatigue. It helps with meal planning, all of that. So, Tonya, why is the kitchen to you such an important place to start for Low by July?
Well, for me, I mean, going back to like using what you have, right? Minimizing food waste.
Hmm.
Like the average American family, I think, wastes $4,000 in food per year. Like it's well,
Yep.
and then like nationally, we throw away like 40% of the food we buy. And it's the classic thing, right? It's cheaper to buy 24 carrots than it is to buy 2 carrots in the long run.
Hmm.
But my family's not big enough to eat 24 carrots before they go bad or whatever, right? Like there's that
Right.
sort of stuff, but just paying attention, like you said, what can I be using right now? Like I know for us a couple of years ago, I started using carrots and sweet potatoes interchangeably. like in soups. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously,
Uh-huh.
right? Nobody
Yeah.
wants a carrot casserole for Thanksgiving. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm
Right.
just saying, in a soup, in a stew, gives the same sweetness, same basic color. It's fine.
Mhm.
Um, and for us, that, starting low by July in the kitchen, for me, first of all, reminds me of the abundance I have.
Right.
Right? Because, we're a family that has a secondary freezer. I know not every family does, but we have
Right.
a secondary freezer. And so going through, and I like to, before low by July starts, inventory everything
Mhm.
and being reminded, like, oh my gosh, you know what? We could skip the grocery store this entire month, or with
Right.
the exception of milk and, coffee creamer and eggs, we don't need to
Yeah.
buy anything else this month. And so automatically having yourself in that abundance mindset, I think is huge because most of our cluttery friends really struggle with scarcity thinking. They
Yes.
struggle with feeling like they don't have enough, and that's why they hold on to so much because they don't think they can afford to replace it, or it was a good deal, or maybe it was really expensive.
Mhm.
And so when you start in the kitchen, you're reminded that you have abundance, you're reminded that you have enough. I don't know that we want to go into it for this episode, but remember last year for Low by July is when we had the invasion of the pantry moths.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
So we
Yes.
had to throw everything away. They
Everything.
were in everything. We're still fighting them, by the way.
I'm so sorry.
It's like, I'm like, I don't know who I angered, but somebody
Ugh.
has been like, I curse a plague upon you, Tonya. But, what has been great in this last year is because of that, we really focus in what is our enough. And low by July last year, was part of that is figuring out what is your enough for your family. How
Mhm.
often do you need to buy, carrots and celery and onions? And there's certain things that just land on our grocery list just because they're on our grocery list,
Right.
not
And it's
because we
just
need them in that
habit.
quantity. Mhm.
Right. And we think, well, if I make chicken noodle soup, I'm going to want those carrots and onions and celery. But do I have a plan to make chicken noodle soup, or is this
Mhm.
just something? And yes, I have fallen deeply into the Costco Sam's Club. It's cheaper to buy it in bulk. I'm coming
Mhm.
to find out that's not always true. Like, Safeway has great sales. Safeway, if you're not on the West Coast, it would be like a Vons or a, I don't know. It's a mid
Kroger.
tier. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kroger. Thank you. Yeah, that's the other one that would be more back east, and they have great sales. But if I'm going in with a mindset of, but this is what I always buy, that's going to be really hard to do. Um,
Mhm.
so my question to you, where would you tell people to be? Actually, you know what? We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to give you a second to think about this. When you hear low by July in the kitchen, what is the first place you would tell people to look? So I would love for you to
Mm.
come up with a little list where you gave us some hints there. Those vegetables that we automatically buy, we put them in our crisper and they become uncrisp. Exactly. And especially when you're doing that in Costco size portions. Oh boy. But what are some other places you would tell people to look? Okay, we will be right back. Okay, friends, if you are not part of the Clutter Free Academy Facebook group, I'm going to really encourage you to head over there because that's where we discuss every single episode. We've got questions for you that help you think. You'll see before and after pictures from some of our members who are doing the work. It is such an inspiring place. When I need to be inspired, that is the place I go. So if you just go to Facebook and you search for Clutter Free Academy, you will see the listing Kathi Lipp's Clutter Free Academy come up. Ask to join, you do need to answer a couple of questions because we want to make sure we all, no bots, no bots. We're not letting bots or mean people in there. And when you are done, you will get the inspiration that thousands, and I do mean thousands of other people receive every single day. We would love you to be a part of it. Okay, Tonya, where are people going to go first when it comes to low by July?
Yeah, well, like I said before, the first thing I would do is inventory, and I would go freezer first because I
Yeah.
think we open our fridge, right? But it's freezer,
Mm. Yeah.
all the freezers you have, all the fridges you have, and your pantry. And I mean, go back into the back of the pantry. I would also be looking at spices, seasonings, and your condiments. Those are things that we
Mhm.
forget to inventory, I think. And then, from there, it's like, okay, so what off the top of my head do I already know I could make from these things? Right? Because what we tend to do
Right.
nowadays, because technology is so beautiful, is we just like go to the internet, we search a recipe, but almost every recipe we find is going to include an ingredient or two we don't have. So just thinking off the top
Yeah.
of your head, what can I make from these things that my family already likes? And I would start plugging in those meals to see how far can you get before you need to go to the store at all. And then carrying
Yes.
it a little bit further, how can you create the smallest shopping list possible for the month of July?
Right. And I think you said something really important there. All your freezers, all your fridges, et cetera, et cetera. Because we've done so many retreats and things, we've had a fridge freezer combo in our kitchen. We have one in our garage, and then we have a tall standing freezer. Well, we just got back from being gone for a month, and we reduced all of that down to we still have the standing freezer, but we were able to completely shut down one fridge freezer. And then when we came home, our freezer, I would say, was a third full, and our fridge was just long term things, things
Mhm.
like condiments, butter, canned drinks, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so, what I've realized is when I have too many places to put food, it's very easy for things to get lost and to forget that things exist there. So I would encourage you, if you are not using what you have, then maybe it's time to start reducing down to one freezer. And yes, keeping that inventory is so, so important. And I think there are two ways to make a meal plan. Either you start with what you have and you make meals out of that, or maybe make a list of your family's 14 favorite meals and say, what are the one or two things that I would need to make 5 of these meals? What, am I out of ground beef? Well, and let's also be clear, if you're using ground beef right now, it might check your prices on ground pork. That might be just
Mhm.
as good, and it might be a lot cheaper. Um, so at what point are you reticent to throw out food? I know that that is something I carry over from my mom, who was raised by people in the depression. Is that the same for you, or is it different?
Yeah, like definitely the scarcity mindset. I think most of us who are cluttery really struggle. We've had issues with food security in our past. And so I think we all struggle
Yes.
with that to some degree. In our house, it's funny is because I'll always go to Brian for permission to throw some like food away. And his answer is always, Tanya, if you want to throw it away, we're about 5 steps from when I would have thrown it away. And I'm like, okay.
I love Brian. I love Brian. Um, and yes, and then I think one of the weird things for cluttery people is we will rebuy an item. Let's say sour cream. Let's just use
Hmm.
that as an example. We have sour cream in our fridge. We're not sure if it's good, so we put sour cream on the list. We go and buy more sour cream, but we don't throw away. We don't take that final step because it feels wasteful and it feels
Hmm.
shameful. And guys, it's great to be able to use absolutely everything you buy. That may take a level of meal planning that
Hmm.
either you don't feel capable of right now, you don't have the time for, and there might be a little food waste on that end. And it's
Hmm.
okay. I want to keep your family alive. So,
Yeah.
Tonya, I would love some ideas. I think the pantry often becomes overstuffed. and ignored. And like you said earlier, we tend to focus on our fridge, but there's so much in our pantry. So I'm wondering if, and especially going into low by July, you may have a lot of stuff in your pantry you haven't examined for a while. So, what are some
Yeah.
creative things that people could do with some of the things, or maybe not creative? What are some basics that people could do when it comes to your pantry food?
Yeah. So, like, if you've got pasta, right? I mean, it's like pasta is like a wonderful, wonderful food. In fact,
Yeah,
I just learned you can make those Taco Bell
right.
cinnamon crispas by freezing pasta or by frying pasta. So, looking at, your pasta,
Really? I had no idea.
yeah, it is. Google that. It's fun, but it's very splashy. So we don't
Okay.
make it very often.
Okay.
But looking at your pasta and thinking, okay, what shapes do I have? Right? Because some shapes lend themselves better to pasta salads. Because that's the other thing I think in July is we don't
Right.
want to do a ton of cooking. So pasta salads,
Right.
pasta bakes, right? Pasta casseroles can be easy because you could bake
Hmm.
those in the morning and then just, reheat them or eat them kind of room temperature later on in the day. Looking at, canned tomatoes, tomato sauce, like you can make yourself a very easy pasta sauce
Hmm.
that way. When you run out of your regular pasta
Right.
sauce, looking at your, flour, sugar. I mean, I know for us, we always get like overloaded on flour and sugar because we do a ton of baking around the holidays. And then so it just kind of sits after the holidays. And so looking
Hmm.
at those
Yes.
sorts of things, muffins are great for the mornings. Again, bake them at night when it's cooler, have them in the morning. You can, if you're
Hmm.
feeling adventurous, experiment with making your own cake donuts. There is like no shortage of resources out there for how to use up flour, sugar, and those sorts of things. But it starts with knowing what you have, knowing what your family enjoys. Like I don't feel like low by July is the month to spring too many like wildly creative things on your family.
No, your basics. And why did I buy that uh, can of tuna? Was that because I wanted to do a meal for everybody in the family? Did I just want to make myself some tuna salad? This is the month to do it. And friends, we're not saying don't buy any groceries in July.
Mm-mm.
The goal is to just be strategic. I like to eat down groceries in July because that's a good midpoint for the year. And around for the winter, we do tend to stock up on some things. But July is also a great time to be able to say, what am I going to do for uh, this cookout? Normally I bring something fresh every single time. But maybe this time I'm going to do a pasta salad.
Mhm.
And I've got some cheese that's lurking in there. I've got a can of olives. I can make a great pasta salad usually from things that I already have. And again, this is not to say don't shop. It's saying use what you have. And your freezer and your pantry are great places to start with this because you bought that food for a reason. Unless somebody else bought the food for you, there was a reason you bought that food. I will also say when it comes to no buy July, making sure you're eating your perishables first. We just went
Mm.
grocery shopping after being gone for a month, and on sale at Safeway, there were thighs and drumsticks. Well, we're going to be gone for the next 2 days. Of course we are because we just got home. And so we're barbecuing tonight. So and whatever we don't barbecue tonight is immediately going into the freezer, but it's also going onto my calendar to say this is when we're going to have it again. So pull it out on Tuesday because we're going to barbecue on Wednesday. That's what we mean by that pre-planning. It doesn't have to be a month's worth uh, of, of meal prepping and planning. It's but one of the things I would say is create a use first bucket or zone in your fridge so you know what you're going to do next or what you're defrosting, what needs to be eaten soon, what leftovers need to be done. Um, you know, those, and also to think about ingredients can often become snacks, lunches, or one simple dinner.
Mhm.
When we were going from place to place on our road trip, we would just create snack boxes for lunch because you cannot go through a drive-through with a 33-foot trailer. And so we had these little chicken bites, and we would have, um, some sliced salami. We would have spinach dip and vegetables and little naan pieces, and it was perfect. And so snacky plates are a great thing to be able to do when you've got a lot of things that don't feel like they make a lot of sense. Um, what what was your approach to shopping at Low by July's in the past? Because I know you also have birthdays and celebrations happening in
Mhm.
July.
Yeah, I mean, for us, the goal is, can't because typically, because we live so close to a grocery store, we're at the store 4 times a month. So the goal for Low by July was like, can we shop? Can
Hmm.
we condense the shopping down to 1 to 2 trips? Because that automatically saves money. And remember, for
Yeah.
our family, I take the money we save, and that becomes like a reward for everybody. So because I make everything a game because my
Hmm.
people do not like deprivation. And, for
Right.
Abby's birthday falls in the month of July. And so usually what we do is, we've already set aside that money before we ever get to the month of July. So that goes to the side. So she knows she gets her birthday cake and whatever.
Yes.
But we look
Right.
at like, okay, how much milk are we really going to drink this month? My family
Hmm.
loves fresh fruit. Like my girls just, they become
Hmm.
fruit bats in the month of summer. Also, as many families struggle with, right, is when the kids are out of school, they're gonna eat you out of house and home. Um, my
Yeah.
thought is, rather than buying snack foods, can I make the snack foods? Or even better, can I have my 16-year-old make the snack foods?
Hmm.
And
Yes.
looking at just every time I'm adding to the grocery list, because we have a family list that is accessible on phones and computers, is like, okay, that's on the list because we want it, but do we absolutely have to buy it this trip?
Right.
Because I think that's the other thing
Hmm.
to remember, Kathy. Low by July is a choice. Like, even if you're listening to this
Yes.
episode, even if you're in our Facebook group, you don't have to participate if you don't want to. So you really,
Right.
really shouldn't put yourself in a situation where you feel bad or miserable as you're participating.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. This is all a choice. And you don't fail if you're like, well, there is this one ingredient that would help me make 3 different meals, but I can't buy it because Tonya and Kathy said no. No, 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 no. That's not what we're doing here. We're just saying this is a great month to evaluate, to use up what's in your freezer. And by the way, if you're not going to use it in July, it may be time to make some room in your freezer. That's all we're saying. That is all
Mhm.
we're saying. Yes, we are using the money from July to be able to go towards our next RV trip because we need to, do something with our roof, and RVs are a money pit, but we have the choice of how we spend our money. And like you said, uh, if if you lead with deprivation, your family will rebel. But when you say, "Hey, we're doing this for everybody's good," so do this. You can do low by July in the kitchen without making it weird. Now you may eat some weird food, but that could also be fun. And guys, we're not giving up on nutrition. We're not giving up on taste. We're just doing things a little bit different. Low by July is not about proving you can suffer. It's about proving you can pause
Mhm.
and just take a pause on the things. Okay. So guys, just make a simple kitchen plan, take your inventory, uh, you know, go through everything. If you are stymied on what to do, you could use ChatGPT. Here's my list. What are some meals I could make from this? And there is nothing wrong with having a chicken and rice bowl with veggies every week with a different kind of sauce on it. One week it's Mexican, one week it's Hawaiian, one week it's Japanese. There are so many different cuisines you can pull from, and you've already got those sauces. Tonya, this was such a great conversation. If people want to listen to Find Your Freaks, where should they go?
Oh, that is simple. They just have to go to findyourfreaks.com and all of our past episodes are there and they can get all the information they need.
I can't believe that that domain was not taken. I love it.
Me neither.
Okay. Yeah. Friends, you've been listening to Clutter Free Academy. I'm Kathi Lipp. Now, go create the clutter free life you've always wanted to live.